Even though I didn't grow up with the franchise, it feels like I've been with it my entire life. From the obvious hitters to the more obscure titles, I've pretty much played every game this franchise has to offer, for better or for worse. And yes, this is Sonic 06 by the way, it's the bad one. With the recent success of the surprisingly great Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the franchise has been gradually making its way back into the spotlight, with fans both old and new coming together to celebrate the legacy of this titular series. When it comes to my favourite Sonic game, it's always been an impossible task to list them off. There's an endless amount. Look at this! There's an endless amount of these games to choose from that I actually really like. So that's why I've never been able to answer that question, that impossible question, until today. And remember, this is just my personal list, so do not let my judgments affect yours in any way. So if I don't put Sonic Forces on number 1, I'm sorry. While the Sonic series has had its ups and downs, there's always been some fantastic titles in there to play. So without further ado, here are my top 5 favourite Sonic games. This is definitely the most divisive Sonic game on this list for me personally, as it makes up everything that I love about a Sonic game, but oftentimes executes these ideas poorly. Still, I'd be lying if I said there weren't many aspects to love about this game, so much so that it's in my top 5. Sonic Unleashed hits so many peaks that the downfalls just make me downright sad. It has arguably the best CGI intro out of all of the games, it has my favourite soundtrack of the entire list, and some of the most fun Sonic stages in the entire franchise. The game is infamously known for introducing the Werehog to the franchise, Sonic's alter werewolf eagle, where it's all about combat and puzzle platforming. These stages aren't terrible, but they can sometimes go on for far too long, and the over-reliance on combat makes many of them feel repetitive and uninteresting. The main campaign of the game also tends to be poorly paced, with forced collectibles that need to be found throughout the Sonic and Werehog stages, locking the player out from progressing to the next area. It's these two blemishes that prevent Unleashed from being any higher on the list. With all that said, however, it can't be understated just how fun the game can be. The Sonic stages are so fast and thrilling, with the reflex-based obstacles to avoid, a story that's charming, cheesy, and yet has high enough stakes as to be invested into this world and its characters. Again, the music is just amazing, perfectly encapsulating that tone of adventure that this game aims for, making for one of the best Sonic soundtracks out there without a shadow of a doubt. It's the negatives of Sonic Unleashed that prevent it from being any higher on the list, but either way, it's still an incredibly fun title with so many things to like. I would definitely recommend it to the more hardcore of Sonic fans. I honestly don't know if this is controversial or not, but Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favourite classic Sonic game out there. Being the combined work of Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, I think this game offers the most pinnacle experience of all of the Mega Drive games. Having so many varied and iconic locations to explore, badass music, and characters that control like a dream. There really isn't much more to say about Sonic 3 and Knuckles that hasn't been said already. It's Sonic at his absolute core, running through loop-de-loops, spin dashing to gain momentum, collecting all the Chaos Emeralds, it's all there. And I know that Sonic Mania, the recently released classic Sonic game, is a fantastic game. But for me, Sonic 3 and Knuckles just offers a bit more diversity, which is why I put it above Sonic Mania as my favourite classic Sonic game out there. There's also a cool story that's told without a single word of dialogue, which I think is a pretty effective way of storytelling. Overall, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is just a good time, and is a game I can easily recommend to just about anyone looking to get into the Sonic series. Once Sonic made the jump to 3D, there was a huge tonal shift in the franchise. Suddenly, the stories were a lot more serious, the games had a more energized and edgy soundtrack, and the character designs had drastically changed to reflect their newer, more engrossing personalities. While Sonic Adventure was a good first attempt and is a very solid Sonic game, it's Sonic Adventure 2 that I believe peaked this new creative vision. Sonic Adventure 2 is a game that at one point, I really didn't understand the love for, but after years of playing it, I've really grown to dig just how different it is to its predecessor while adding its own unique spin on top of it, including a whole new story, different music, and new mini-games to complement the main gameplay. You can play 6 different characters in this game, which may sound like way too much, but Sonic Team smartly stripped down this into 3 singular playstyles, all derived from the previous game. By far my favourite stages are the ones involving both Sonic and newly introduced rival, Shadow the Hedgehog. Their stages consist of speeding past obstacles and making quick time jumps and attacks to progress through the environment. Knuckles and Rouge have treasure hunting stages that are more about exploring than anything, and these can be fun too, if not a bit too long for my liking. Lastly, Tails and Dr. Eggman have mech-focused stages, with the aim being to destroy as many enemies that block your path as possible. These mech stages are definitely my least favourite of the three gameplay styles, but they can still be fun in their own right, just nowhere near as fun as the Sonic and Shadow stages, which I really do wish the game took more of. There's also an awesome monster collecting mode in the game known as the Chow World. With this, you can raise and train your own pets through minigames, and this can definitely get addicting. There's a grandiose story that utilizes the characters of the game very well, and it's my favorite Sonic story of the whole franchise. And then the music is just out of this world amazing, with each character getting their own musical style to match their personalities. Sonic gets light rock, Knuckles gets laid-back raps, Dr. Eggman gets grudgy rock. The soundtrack offers great diversity, while still feeling focused. Really? There's just so many different aspects to Sonic Adventure 2 that make it such an engrossing and fun experience. While the downfalls are a bit lame, they're not enough to hinder the entire game for me, just because there's so much stuff that I like. And the Chow Garden alone? That's enough to sell the game right there. I would highly recommend Sonic Adventure 2 to any avid Sonic fan. This might be the strangest game to put on a list like this, but without a doubt in my mind, Sonic Rush Adventure is the most underrated Sonic game ever made. This may be my nostalgia talking, but I believe this is the most fun 2D Sonic game to have ever been released, and offers an easily accessible experience with a light-hearted story and a cool atmosphere overall. Sonic Rush Adventure is actually the first Sonic game I ever fully completed, and ever since I've gone back to complete it over and over again. It's actually the really cool sequel to its predecessor, Sonic Rush, that came out all the way back in 2005 for the Nintendo DS. And quite frankly, I don't really like that much, but Sonic Rush Adventure fixed so many of its issues to make my favorite 2D Sonic game of all time. My main issue with Rush was its unfair level design, throwing bottomless pits and instant kill traps out of nowhere, souring my experience so much that I downright disliked that game. Rush Adventure, however, offers challenging yet forgiving level design that is fair, but with so many optional routes to traverse through, it's not as simple as holding right to win. The game has a pirate and ocean traveling aesthetic, something very unique for the Sonic series, and it added to the personality and charm of the game in its entirety. It's just a game that I love to play so much. From its different variety of levels, different playable characters, the story, the aesthetic, the world building, it's all there, and I love it so much that I just never get bored of it. It's seriously a game I could recommend anyone playing, Sonic fan or not, and I severely wish that more people would appreciate just how good it really is. The absolute pinnacle of Sonic the Hedgehog gameplay for me, Sonic Generations offers an experience that is both incredibly accessible, yet so in-depth with how replayable the stages are. This is by far the Sonic game that I replay the most out of any of them. It was a game made to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary, aiming to bring together all Sega fans to celebrate the legacy of the Sonic franchise. And you know what? Sonic team did a damn good job with this one, because it's easily my favorite Sonic game of all time. The game incorporates both old school classic Sonic and current day modern Sonic for 2D and 3D stages to please fans of both genres. Levels are taken from past titles and revamped to create even more exciting set pieces to run through, making these stages bigger and better than they've ever been. Classic Sonic may not feel exactly the same as his Mega Drive days, but his levels are so intricately designed that it's really a non-issue. Modern Sonic is where the game truly shines, however, with level design that is so thoughtful and dense that it makes for easily the most fun Sonic has ever been. Whenever anyone asks me what Sonic game they should play, the first game that always comes to mind is Sonic Generations. It's basically like Sonic 3. It's pure Sonic speedy platforming action, except with zero gimmicks to hinder the experience. While it may not have a great story, and some of its missions can drag, the game is simply too great for those issues to knock it down. Generations is, in my opinion, the gold standard for what all Sonic games should strive to be, and that is why it's my favorite Sonic game of all time. What are your favorite Sonic games? And did you agree with any of my choices? I hope you enjoyed the list. I'm Ben, and make sure to subscribe to the BBC Social Gaming for more content like this.